Welcome to the 7 Essential Back to School Survival Skills series. I am your host, Vanessa Callahan. And we're here making sure that all of you parents are feeling well-resourced, well cared for, and that you have your burning questions answered in this really challenging time. If you're tuning in if you're tuning in on the business page, please hop over to the Raising Our Resilience parent group. It's totally worth it to just join in with some other parents who are working on resilience, especially in this unprecedented time where we're handling a global pandemic, virtual instruction, hybrid learning, all the things, dogs wanting to go outside in the middle of your video. You know what? We're juggling so much right now, and I feel you. I feel you. And trust me when I say that I have been in the middle of a sea of 24 children who all need something from me at the same time. So I understand what it feels like right now to be pulled in so many directions and have so many responsibilities stacked on each other, over, up and up and up, layers and layers of responsibility. And what we're here to do today is take all of the really great research, all of the great experience I've had managing like situations, and all of that I'm learning from watching the field. I'm really looking at what parents are trying, what they're experimenting with, what's working, what's not working. I'm having hundreds of conversations with parents, including the folks who are in my Family Foundation's year-long immersion program, and those of you who are right here in the Raising Our Resilience group, those of you who are tuning in right here in the group. And what I've noticed are some trends. There are some really specific things that folks are concerned about. And there are really specific things that are working really well. And I don't want to keep those from you, right? Like we need to be in a crowdsourcing, well-resourcing community of folks who all want the same thing. We all want our kids to get through this and not just like make it through and survive, but like maybe even learn how to strive in this environment, learn how to thrive in this environment, and be with the difficulty and find their way forward. So I'm so excited to be here with you and to serve you here in the what I'm seeing right away is there are folks who are really struggling with the virtual learning piece. I mean, it is hard. It is hard right now. Let me know in the comments specifically what is hard about virtual learning right now. And I think what I'm finding is that potentially I'm not streaming to the group, so I might need to resend it out to everybody. So when I post this, and if you see this video even on YouTube, like you can make a comment in the YouTube chat, and I get that, right? Or you can email me at raisingourresilience@gmail.com. You can come over to the Facebook group and join us in this conversation. But I want to know, what is the hardest thing about virtual learning specifically for you? So, I mean, for a lot of us, what I'm hearing from my parent clients is that it's really one of the hardest part is about having to juggle virtual learning with also everything else. You know, it's one thing if you are a full-time homeschooler and you have no other responsibilities, but many of you are working full-time, working part-time, trying to support your co-parent or spouse or family member who is also trying to work full-time right now. You are juggling your household, you're trying to keep your family safe from wildfires and from COVID and all these things, right? So one of the things is just feeling like you've got a lot on your plate. Makes sense that this is something that we would be struggling with right now. And so what I'm hoping to do is break down several things that you can do right now to really improve your experience of having to juggle these things and have your kids set up for success for virtual learning. If you're into that, give me a like a yeah, yes please in the comments. Now, it's possible that the live streaming just started in the group, and if that's the case, I'll just catch you up. We're doing an Ask Me Anything segment. I'm going to be answering questions specifically from folks who have been, who have shared them in the registration questions or have posed them to the group. And the top of mind topic right now is how to navigate virtual learning as we are juggling everything that's on our plates. Yeah, makes sense, right? So first thing I can share with you about getting your kids into their online studies is you absolutely have to resource yourself. You can't just go into this like a regular school year. Things like doubling down on your self-care routines, making sure you've got 15 to 20 minutes every morning for yourself where you're going to do something that's going to fill up your, like deepen your well, fill up your bucket, put your oxygen mask on before you head into the day. So right now in the comments, I would love for you to just put one quick comment about something that you can do every single day when you wake up to help you have more resources to bring to the day. I'll share some examples.
Into the day.
I've got
so right now in the comments, I'd love for you to just put one quick comment about some.
There we go. I've got parents who are in my year-long immersion, and just the simple thing of hydrating every morning. So I'm like chugging a glass of water as soon as you wake up. And this is one that we learned through with our coach, who's a life coach, strategic life coach, Krista Maher, but who's brilliant. So chugging a glass of water as soon as I wake up was one, just to make sure you're getting hydrated, right? And then doing the same thing for the kids, right? So what it does is it orients you to, you know, if you do things to resource yourself, you're also going to be thinking about how to resource your kids. So if you're tuning in here, I see there are a couple of folks here live with me. Just go ahead and throw in the comments one thing you can do to resource yourself as soon as you wake up in the morning. I can't stress this enough. And even if the thing itself is not that significant, what it's doing is it's setting your mindset up for the day that I am a person who is in charge of my day. I can take these moments to make sure that I'm getting the stress management pieces that I need to feel better and to have more energy to bring to the kids. Okay. So it could be something as simple as hydration. Maybe you do a 5-minute meditation. Maybe you even, you know, take a walk outside. You do something for yourself every morning. So go ahead and write something in the comments that you can do. Number one. Okay. Another thing you can do to get yourself in the right sort of perspective and place for the year, and for especially for the first 3 to 6 weeks of school, is to really manage your expectations about how quickly everything is going to be sort of through this transition into the school year. Excuse me. Unlike any other time, I mean, we already have a steep learning curve going into the school, into every school year. But right now, it's almost like it's been exponentially amplified, right? Because we're doing things like navigating virtual platforms, trying to get our kid to get into wearing a mask if they're returning to school. We've got a lot of extra challenges built on. So what I want you to do is really spread out your goals. So it's not ready by the first day of school. It's not having everything in a smooth routine by the end of the first week of school. You're looking at more of the long game. So for example, parents of younger kids, you know, especially ages like 4 to 8, 4 to 7, virtual learning is not necessarily the most ideal format for kids of that age group. We know that as researchers, and you've been able to figure that out as parents, I'm sure. So I have several clients who have, you know, rising kindergartners and first graders right now. And one of the things that they've really been able to kind of scale back on is expecting their child to fully focus on every single virtual session of the day, if there are several throughout the day, and calling it a win if they're able to attend one at first, and then calling it a win when they're able to attend 2. And really looking at how your child's responding to these sessions and building in extra breaks as needed. Because we're thinking about the ramp. We're not trying to go straight up into the you know, hitting every single goal of his virtual learning experience. I know as a teacher, when I go into the first few weeks of school, especially, that there's going to be some time that kids will need to transition. And some kids will be 100% rocket fuel right away, and others will be like dipping their toe in the water. And so really like read your kid and see where their enthusiasm is and isn't, and stay calm about where it is and kind of embrace it and work with it, okay? So adjusting your ideas, your expectations, and even like your goals about what would be success. Really, really key. So those are two things you can do that have more to do with your mindset, your perspective. First one is I'm going to resource myself, and I'm going to do that throughout the day. And I'm going to also encourage my kids to do that. And then that one piece. And the second one is really, really navigating or managing that expectation of how quickly they're going to onboard into this new sort of school setup, meeting them where they're at and doing a small stretch goal next. So let's say there's 5 sessions a day. Your child is having success with 2. Just let 3 be the next goal. Maybe the sessions are 45 minutes long. Your child's doing great the first 20, but not after that. Maybe make it a very appropriate decision to let your child take a 5-minute break and miss a little bit and try to come back for that next 20, because maybe 20 minutes is what they can handle in this format right now. It's okay for you to modify and make adjustments and really notice how your child is doing and meet them there and just make smaller goals. Can you feel into that? Yeah. So in the comments, I see Raylene. Oh, I think we're back. Okay. So good to have you here. I love that you both have something that you do to resource yourself. I want you to also write down something that you feel like would be a reasonable goal, considering what information you know about your specific child. This is something I do in sessions all the time. Juicy knows, right? We would like talk through about each child and what you think is their next scaffolded step. Right, so just go ahead and kind of tune in, like, what can my kid handle right now? And what would be like a small stretch goal that's sort of just bringing them up to the next step, and then we'll scaffold from there over the next several weeks. So it could be about how long they sit through, they're able to sit through a video, how many sessions they attend, whether or not they're on camera. That was one that, a parent was working towards, like actually turning that video on. Some kids are shy about it. It could be about actually focusing on the lesson, like maybe using a fidget properly, all these little possible goals. Write them in the comments, just at least one. If you have several, go for it. I want to know what they are, okay? So then the next thing that could be really helpful with, kids getting into their online studies is really looking at their, just their motivation in general, like what gets them excited about this activity. And sometimes what I call, have done in my classroom, and I've trained hundreds of teachers, including some interns that I worked with for 3 years, how important it is to really get the child like sort of on board with like, this is learning time. And the easiest, usually the fastest way in is through interest. So pointing out something that is interesting about what's going to happen next, and getting them to kind of visualize or imagine it based on the last time they did this activity or something about what's coming up. If you don't know anything, you could wonder together. I wonder if Mrs. Katz, let's say is their teacher's name. I wonder if Mrs. Katz is gonna wear a silly hat again today. Or if, I wonder if Mr. Jerry is going to use his puppet today. I heard that there's a teacher out there doing that right now. One of my clients, their teacher is using a puppet during story time, and the kids are loving it. I wonder if you're going to tackle the next chapter of math. I wonder if you're ready to, or start the first chapter now that you've taken your assessments. What is the first chapter about? I wonder if we could let's take a look at the textbook real quick and check it out. I'm thinking of my 4th, 5th, 6th graders who are heading into math textbooks. So thinking about something that's going to kind of spark them up and have them be a little more invested before they, hit play on that asynchronistic learning video, or, hit log in to their portal or their Zoom room, and getting them engaged in that way. And it can be a 30-second exercise that can make all the difference for their engagement. Another thing that you can do is, if your kid is highly social, you can also have them anticipate who's going to be there, and even encourage them to reach out to a friend saying hey, are you working on this too? Are you working on that too? I'm thinking 3rd grade and up, maybe 2nd grade too. And see if you can get a little bit of study buddy time in. And I know that some teachers are making breakout rooms for this and creating smaller cohorts within the bigger cohorts. But if that's not happening already, having 1 or 2 study buddies who are at the same level in the same grade could make such a difference, especially for kids who really, really thrive in that partner work and that social connection, okay? So if you're here with me at the Raising Our Resilience page and you're not yet joined the parent group, this is that time where you're going to actually click on the link and request to join, and you'll be able to watch the rest of it in the Raising Our Resilience parent group. And those of us who are in the group, there's over 400 of us, we are really leaning in this year, leaning into the support, the mentorship that's available here through like leaning on my experience and expertise, but we're also, you know, looking to each other for support and for, you know, some perspective and feeling less alone in this. Like, I don't believe that any parent should have to parent alone, especially in an isolating pandemic. So if you haven't yet joined a Raising Our Resilience parent group, go ahead and head over there, okay? You can click join group and it'll take you over there and we'll see you there. Okay, so here we are back to just us in the group. The reason I do that is I think it's so important for parents to take one more step to like committing to change and committing to getting resourced and really help each other out. So we can consume a lot of information, but there's something different when you kind of break through the fourth wall and actually participate and connect. So that's what that's about. So here Juicy's sharing that getting her 7-year-old to stay in front of the camera during PE. It doesn't like to be on camera. I love it, Juicy. So, right. So we could even break it down a little further. Check this out, everybody. Those of you who are thinking about that next goal for your child, just think about, watch how I stretch this one out a little bit. And then you get to play in the stretch and decide if you want to, like, you know, leap forward or kind of, you know, take it one baby or step at a time. So getting your 7-year-old to be in front of camera, this reminds me of another client who was trying to figure out, how do I get my child to be on video more and more over time, because ultimately we want him to kind of just break through his resistance to it. So I'm imagining you have a similar goal, Juicy. You could consider that you could set a mini goal first that he agrees to do it for just the first minute. Or you could have him do 1 minute and he gets to choose what minute he turns it on for. And if it has to be the last minute, that's fine. But wouldn't it be nice to just get it out of the way in the beginning? And start with a smaller goal, go from 1 minute to 5 minutes to 10 minutes, and then, you know, eventually you're there. And another option could be, hey, you know, this week for PE, let's say he's got 3 classes. This week for PE, all in total, we need to be on camera for at least 10 whole minutes. And you can decide when that happens. So notice I'm building in choice. That's our autonomy motivation hack, right, Juicy? Yeah, and a little bit of geeking out of like making a plan and having a strategy of like, do I want to do it all at once and get it over with? Do I want to spread it out? And then I would also build on what's working. So if he's not on camera, but he is following the instructions, like give him some praise that he's at least following the instructions and focusing on the activity, and build from there. And I know that when you're ready, you're going to turn on that camera for more than 10 minutes. I feel it coming, hon. Like predicting his future success, building off of the success you're seeing is also a really powerful way to kind of get kids to put those things together so they're not separate. Like, I'll do the activity, but I won't be on camera, but that they somehow are connected. Yeah. The other thing you can do is check in with the instructor and say, is there some way that you could call on kids, you know, or call on my guy plus a couple other kids to turn on their camera to show something, or to like maybe name an animal that we're all going to now move like that animal, and just see if there's some way to get, you know, to kind of take advantage of the interactive parts of the PE class and say, could you mind calling on my guy, you know, and saying, hey, turn on the camera so I can see your move or whatever. I would just check in and see if that's an option, if you could collaborate a little bit with the teacher. So Juicy, those are three ideas you can roll with. Let us know in the comments like what you might try next, or if anything stood out to you. Okay, I'm so glad you're here asking, or like putting out your goal and letting me address it. So we've already rolled through some of the motivation boosts. That's what one of the other key questions was. And before I forget, I want to make sure I tag a few folks who actually put these questions in here. Miriam, Miriam, I'm so glad that you're in our group and that you asked this question, because it's such a good topic of getting them into their online studies. So I just want to tag you in here so you know that we are thinking of you. And the next question that I have is from, let me see here, is from Chloe. And Chloe is really wondering how to handle siblings entering puberty. So those of you with younger kids, you get a sneak peek, a preview here of what it's like to be parenting tweens or kids who are about to graduate into adolescence. So let's see. Let's get Chloe tagging here. Okay. So parenting kids heading into puberty. So the thing that's happening often, and we all can relate to this if you allow yourself to remember these awkward years. Let me just write this. So I'm just letting her know that we're answering this. We can recall back, what's happening is there's this burst of growth hormone that's happening throughout the body, and it hits the different parts of the body in different sort of intensities, because different parts of the body will be more receptive to those hormones and will grow first. And so you've seen the kids go from like this shape to like this shape overnight, and suddenly they're flooding their pants. You know, there's 6 extra inches of leg. What happened? So one of the things to think about is just their biological, the physiological needs have shifted. Right? And so they're going to be doing things like sleeping longer, eating more, being grumpier, complaining of possibly body aches and pains. So there's all these pieces of like growth, like all these sort of bursts of growth that are going to be happening. And you should definitely practice a lot of compassion around that, right? That makes sense. It's kind of like women when they're on their worst day of their cycle, if they have symptoms, we can all like be like, oh, honey, I'm sorry. Of course, you don't have to, you know, carry the groceries in or something. You should go lay down, kind of thing. So it's a bit of that compassion, and it comes in waves. It's not like a consistent thing that for the next, 18 months, it's going to be this way and then they're done. So look out for, grogginess, whining and complaining about being tired, falling asleep involuntarily, like in the car when they haven't done that in a long time. And just know that, okay, this is the time where they're going to need deeper rest, more nutrition than usual, probably more calories, and cut them a little mood managing slack. Okay, so there's one. This is also an apt time for them to get more in touch with their bodies and have some self-compassion, because I think that one of the things that can happen here is kids will have a lot of comments about their body, and if they don't already have a bit of language and vocabulary around the changes of their body, then it starts to feel like other people are telling them about how their body is, and it creates this sort of tension, right? Of like, why are you looking at my body? Why are you commenting on my body? So, and I don't even know what to say about it. So coming up with some like family phrases around like, yeah, this growth spurt sure hurts, or something like, and or being able to say like, I'm clearly I'm growing a lot right now, right? Yeah, like when someone's like, oh, you're so tall, and we can't help it. We say these things because we're just excited to see kids and they hear these things. And they're like, yeah, and I'm also growing stronger and smarter. Like I'm exercising, I'm stretching, I'm building my muscles, I'm learning new things, right? So having ways of like talking about this phase, which can be really awkward, in the positive or just the practical, and be really empowered to do so, like having the words to say and having open conversations where you can be a little playful about it. It's like, I made dinner for 5 and there's only 4 people there, right? Because that you have this one adolescent who really needs the second meal, right? The other thing is to, actually get some of that health education, those health education resources. And there are a lot of great sort of health education educators out there. There's video series and things. If you need more information, Chloe, let me know. But I would actually go to your school first and say, what resources are you sharing with the kids in terms of health education, so that they are learning about the changes. Because with the growth hormones, especially, with the testosterone and estrogen for the, in the genders, on the gender side of things, secondary sex characteristics start to emerge, right? So you've got like, budding breasts and hair showing up and all kinds of things. So it's just really helpful if there is somebody who's not a parent also who can like bring in resources in case that's a little awkward for you to kind of get started down that road. So I'd recommend leaning into the school community that you have, also friends and family saying, do you know any great health educators for emerging teens? Have you seen any books or videos that are especially helpful? And kind of go with what your community is already using. And if you need more resources, let me know. Just throw it in the comments, tag me. I'd be happy to dig up the things that I've found in the past that have been wonderful. Get you in touch with some experts as well. All right, so let's see here. Arlene is saying, I have an 11 and 14-year-old going through body changes now. Absolutely, yes, right? I mean, this is not a small time. This is a big deal, it's a big time, and we're really thinking about these little guys becoming big guys. It's kind of intense. I had, when I started parenting my stepchildren, they were 10 and 13, and we were right in the throes of it. Another thing that can happen too that's really interesting is that kids and their mood management can really shift. It can be rocky during the transition of adolescence, but once they've done their bigger growth spurt, like they've done that lengthening and they've got their secondary, sex characteristics have kind of come in, there can actually be a bit of a quiet period where they're much more able to kind of manage their mood, and it's kind of plateaus a bit. And you can look forward to that. I'm curious, Arlene, what are the biggest challenges you're seeing with your 11 and 14-year-old with this situation right now, going back to school, that you'd like support with besides the body changes? I'd love to jam with you since you're here. I'll let the dog in and then close it because of the air quality. So another question that we had here, so Arlene, I'll be looking for your question in the comments. How do I help my extroverted son who is desperately missing his school and friends? Oh, this one breaks my heart. It's so hard. How many of you, I mean, and I can't see you, but if you could, you'd probably raise your hand. How many of you are concerned about this? Concerned about whether our kids are going to be able to sort of socially recover from this. And this was from Erin Lynch. I'm just going to tag her in this so she knows that I'm answering her question. Yeah, there's going to be a lot that we're going to learn from this period of time in the future about what kind of effect it has had for the kids to be sheltering in place, for them to have less options socially. I posed a question to the group because I actually think crowdsourcing is super important, and that's why I create groups like the Family Foundation's Immersion year-long group that travels together for the year, as well as this community group, the Raising Our Resilience parent group. Because we need to sometimes just give our resources to each other and really lean in. So some of the things that parents have had success with have been setting up FaceTime calls or Zoom calls or chats where they just get to be in the room together while they do something. So it's not this pressure to have a face-to-face conversation with their peers, especially with the younger ones. Because it's really, especially for boys, it's really common for boys to feel a sense of relatedness and connection with other kids, and especially other boys, when they're doing side-by-side activities. And even my stepson who's in college, he's 21, was explaining to me this summer because I asked him, hey, what's hard? What's the hardest thing right now about not being able to see your friends and things like that? He's like, well, it's just that you can't really get the same, you don't have the same feel, it doesn't feel the same when we're just on the phone or on Zoom or FaceTime, and you run out of things to say. And I just miss being able to do stuff together, So I wonder about what you, as we can crowdsource this right now as well, where you've had success with sort of having activities that kids can do that they could also be tuning in with a friend
when we're just on the phone or on Zoom.
Where they could be tuning in with a friend and still be doing that activity. So like maybe they're both hiking, or they're both walking, they're both exercising. That could be a thing. Maybe they're both working on an assignment that they both have, right? Homework wise, they just kind of get to have somebody there. There's no pressure to like look straight at the camera and talk to them, but they're just there. And kind of getting to the old fashioned like phone thing too, where you just put in an earbud and you're just hanging out while you do something, like even like watching a show at the same time, where you get to like laugh, or like they could send each other YouTube links and watch them. Think about a less of like face-to-face and more side-by-side opportunities. I think we forget how much happens in terms of socializing where kids are just in the same space doing the same thing at the same time, or something similar, right? So consider that. Also, all the myriad of like outdoor opportunities that where they can socially distance, scootering together, biking together, hiking together, where they are 6 feet apart wearing masks. You know, playing, there are a lot of like games too, where they get to kind of chase each other or kick a ball back and forth, do those kinds of things like in an open park field or backyard. They can go on a scavenger hunt together. There are a lot of them out there. You can look up like nature scavenger hunt and, you know, print out a list for both kids, or put it, they can each have your, you know, the adult's phone or something with a list, and they go around and they take a picture of the 10 things and send it to each other, or even do it at the same time, but just 6 feet apart. The list goes on and on and on. You can set up crafts outside. You can set up, you know, a tie-dye thing. Like there's so many, like think summer camp. Think summer camp, and like what were those great outdoor activities that maybe if you didn't go to summer camp, you can look up, or you can, you know, consult with someone who has. But there are a lot of great outdoor things we can do. One family said, just go to the beach. Just go to the beach. And the kids have their own bucket and their own shovel. If you have any kind of water system nearby, a lake, a beach, a creek, a stream, you know, a river, a pond, right? A hose in the backyard can also be a really good time. So, and I think that the part of that we as adults might get a little bit stuck on is having to coordinate that. Because in the past, it would happen on its own, because we would bring them to school every day. And the teachers would coordinate the activities and watch the yard and all these things, right? They'd have these opportunities. So for us to have to do it can sometimes be that block. So what I would encourage you to do, and you can write in the comments right now, is make a commitment to one social activity that you're willing to organize in the next week for your kids. And or make possible, or encourage them, like give them a ride somewhere, or like for your 11 and 14-year-old Arlene, I'm thinking. And know that, see, like Erin has this situation where she's got a more extroverted son and a less extroverted daughter. And really knowing that it might be different for the two kids, like the style that they have. Like I've worked closely with a family that has a very introverted daughter, but also loves her friends and loves to be social, but she just doesn't like to be out in crowds and out, you know, and kind of making the move to set up the plans. And so they did a lot of really cute things. Like they did a cute like watch party of a movie together where everybody was eating popcorn in the backyard, and kind of put up a little, like they slept in their own little tent. So they had a sleepover where they would talk through the tent and flash their flashlights and stuff. So there's ways to do it, even if they're not within 6 feet of each other. And so I would just commit to one thing that you're willing to organize for your child socially and go from there. Let it build. Know that you don't have to replace everything that school used to give your kids, but you can do it one plan at a time, one activity at a time, one play date at a time, okay? And you'll learn from there, right? Like what's working, what's not working, and get your child to kind of, you know, be more invested in helping plan the next time. So the next question, also from Erin, has to do with having an anxious child leave the house after COVID. And this isn't weighing on my heart, it's weighing on a lot of parents and educators' hearts right now, which is how are kids going to be after COVID? Like, are they going to be able to, you know, feel comfortable with things like physical touch and being in a crowd, returning to public schools or public spaces where, people are sharing bathrooms and sharing food sources and things. And what is that even going to look like? How are we going to help the kids with this? Well, I can address this in terms of like what I know of to be true about anxiety in childhood in general, and for adults as well. So oftentimes when children are feeling anxious about something, it's often the thoughts and ideas and the stories they're telling about that thing. So knowledge is power, basically reality testing any fears that are coming up, any thoughts that are coming up, any stories that you're telling. So she's like, if I go to a restaurant, I'm going to get COVID. Maybe that's a story. I don't even want to go there. I don't even consider that. And so we get to reality test that and say, like, oh, tell me how that would happen, and let her explain it in her own perspective. And what she might come to is a realization that, well, I mean, if somebody has COVID that's there, then I can get it too. Oh, okay, so if somebody has COVID and they could give it to you, yeah, and like, how would that happen? Well, what if they don't wear a mask and, droplets come out and then I end up eating those droplets in my food? I mean, I'm really thinking like, your most anxious thoughts, right? Yeah, so they would need to like have their mask off, and the spit would have to leave their mouth and have to land on your food, and then you'd have to eat that bite, and then that couple of droplets would go into your body. Is that right? Did I get that right? Yeah, that's what happened. Oh, okay. Yeah, and I'm just wondering, honey, like, so it sounds like it's really important to you that anywhere we go, we know for sure that we can trust that people are wearing masks, and that would be a really big deal to you at first, right? Especially the first place we go, like you'd want to feel like, yeah, the staff really understands that no droplets in the food, right? And see how I'm like moving towards some kind of empowered asks, like what she would like, the boxes she would check off to feel more comfortable in that situation. Yeah. So it sounds like you'd really want to make sure that they'd have those masks on, and that we should probably do a good job checking, like call a restaurant, talk to the manager, the owner, just ask what are your protocols for safety, and make sure that we're comfortable and they're at the level that we feel comfortable with. Yeah. And then it also sounds like if we get there and we find out, like we see people aren't wearing masks, like we should probably feel very free to just kind of get up and go if we feel like uncomfortable with that's a good idea too. So the thing that you want to do with anxiety is you want to, basically challenge anything that is a story with as much reality testing as possible. Take that information of what they're most concerned about and make a plan. And then always have a way that they can safely reset. In other words, return home and kind of like manage their emotion, and then reflect and make a plan about how to make it more successful next time, right? And what you do is you build towards more and more sense of safety outside of their safety zone that might be really small right now. Another thing that's really helpful with managing anxiety about specific activities, like we'll just keep using the restaurant example, is having several exposure events before and exposure is a tough word right now because it sounds like exposure to the virus, but we'll say acclimation events, several acclimation events where they get to be in proximity, like close to the thing or the activity, but they don't have to participate yet. And they get to like just get like a visual of what it looks like, and then come back to their safety zone, maybe come back home, and then let the concerns come up and let them and work through them, and then go back and get just inch in a little closer. So what it might look like is, let's say we're picking a restaurant we're going to go to. The first idea that had come up is like call first and ask about their safety protocols. Let's say they're doing porch seating and she's concerned that it's not actually 6 feet apart. You could actually do like a satellite picture from Google Maps or something, or just drive by. It's kind of like a little drive. You can just drive right by, look out the window, see what it looks like, see if it looks like 6 feet or not, kind of check it out. Yeah. And don't say, and then we have to go in, and say, and then we can go in or not. It's up to you. all we're going to do is drive up and see. And if we feel like it's a yes, it's a green light, let's go. We'll go in. And we'll notice if the waiters and waitresses are wearing masks, right? And the folks we can ask, hey, can we just like peek in the kitchen? I want to see if people are wearing masks. It just would help us so much. We have, one of us is really nervous. And that can be really helpful, and not push, right? Like, it's not like, well, see, they're wearing masks and it's 6 feet apart. Why are you worried? Don't worry. It's kind of like, okay, good. Now we know for the next time, for tomorrow, we can come back tomorrow and actually, make a plan. As much as you can kind of approach it without, and kind of break it down into smaller acclimation events, the better the anxiety will be managed. Also having some kind of code word or way to say, I can't hang, I'm sorry, we gotta go. Yeah. And not have that be a fail. Just have that be, okay, I got it, hun. Yeah, we're gonna keep working on this. I'm not giving up on this, and I understand. So let's go for now. And we'll try again next week. Yeah. So hopefully that's helpful. You can use that template of acclimation events, of previewing, of having an exit plan, of getting closer and closer to that goal, and being really kind about it with pretty much anything that kids are anxious about, whether it's getting in the pool for the first time, asking a friend to go on a play date, being on camera in these virtual learning situations. You can work towards it. Okay, and the last one I have here is, how do I know if I'm doing things right, especially when it comes to mood management? And if you're here watching, go ahead and throw into the comments if you have any additional questions, because we're going to wrap in about 5-10 minutes here. And I want to make sure that if you've taken the time to be here and you have a question, that you get it answered. If I haven't addressed it already, or if you have more about a question. So this is from, let's see, I hope I'm saying this correctly, Svetlana. And she was really wanting to know how can I know if I'm doing things right? And she was especially interested in learning about mood management. Well, first of all, the first thing I would say is that although it may seem like there's one way to do things right, there's really as many as there are children in the world, there are that many ways to do it. And what I can say is that it's very, very individualized, Svetlana. So let's see, I'll just put, we're answering your topic now. Okay, I hope she can check this out later. And I'm seeing here that Juicy has dedicated, good job, to, so it looks like there's a delay, to having a socially distant father and son hike with a neighbor for her 7-year-old. Excellent, I love it. Then the dads get to socialize too. Beautiful. And then they get to be outdoors and still connect. Lovely. Yes, yes, yes. Very good. So back to the question about doing things right. So like I said, as many children there are in the world, that's the number of ways to do it. And it's very, very personal. So like we just rolled through an extroverted child and an anxious child, and what a different set of possibilities we rolled through there, right? And kind of strategies or tools or approaches. And so what I need to know, Svetlana, is what's happening with mood management with your little ones that you feel like you would love to feel more confident about. That if you were able to have an approach that felt like it was a good fit to your child, what is it that you feel like is breaking down where you're not getting that feeling? Because mood management is a really big topic, and I know that you had to pick from several and whatever from the registration and everything, but more importantly, like I want you to get support with mood management. I want all parents to have it. Actually, emotional mastery is a really big passion of mine. As you know, Juicy, and those of you who've been to my Navigating Meltdowns workshops, my mood management strategies workshops for parents, I did one in June. So Svetlana, do reply in the comments. Let me know more specifically what you want support with when it comes to mood management. And I will respond right there in the comments, and those of you who've been writing in these on this post will be notified when I update it. I can tell you that mood management starts with us. It starts with who? It starts with you. It really does. Because the more that we know about managing our own moods, where we can tune into our bodies, name our emotions, work through those emotions without stuffing them or chucking them, dismissing them. The more that we can bring in tools and strategies that help us to self-regulate and cope and soothe ourselves, the more we're able to do that and even describe like the benefit of it, like, oh, I feel so much better that I took 3 deep breaths. What were you asking me for, honey? For the 50th time. What were you asking me for? Again. Let's try this again, right? So it's kind of up to us to sort of set the level of calm in our homes and to model it. And when we're really good at it, then we also feel more confident coaching our kids through it. Now, meltdowns and tantrums and power struggles are really hard, and they're emotional events. So I encourage you to hang with me over the next few months, because I'll be giving some navigating meltdowns trainings over the next few months, and my special 6-day calm parent training in October. So Svetlana, if this is an area that you would really like to get like more, tools in your toolbox, hang with me here and for the next couple months, and we'll get you on your way. Okay. In the meantime, I do have the free 6-tool guide that if you just throw in your email, you can have access to. And I think that, let me just double check. I'm not sure if you got it. I think you may have. No, so you didn't have a chance to get that yet, Svetlana. So I want you to have it. And anyone else who's listening, it is at this website, www.chaos, the word chaos, the number 2, and then the word calm, chaos2calm.gr8.com. And that will get you your 6 calm parent strategies. And those are quick and easy strategies to help you kind of get your cool back on, kind of put your lid back on after you flipped your lid, so that you can cool down hot emotions in the moment, and also practice them outside of the moment to help you really stay in that well-regulated space where you can manage your stress and not lose your cool. And the beauty of it is everything that all of those tools you can actually share with your kids. They can learn them from you. Breathing tools, somatic tools. Juicy did the 6-day training. We have another one coming up in October, so I'll be letting y'all know about that. All right. So I see 3 folks tuning in, no new questions. I'm wondering, I'm gonna just leave it open for a couple more minutes, just in case folks, there's a little delay sometimes. Do you have a chance to throw your question in the comments? Otherwise, we've covered some great ground. If you didn't hear the beginning of it, I want you to go back and listen to ways that we can set up for online learning success, how you can boost your child's motivation to learn in the virtual situation, how to help an extrovert, how to help an anxious child, and just getting a sense of what you can do to manage your mood and your child's mood. And I really do recommend grabbing the 6 strategies if you haven't yet. It's there for you. Well, I don't see any questions coming in, so I think that's going to be a wrap for this week. Thank you for joining me for Ask Me Anything. If you're hearing this as a video and instead of live, you can still ask me anything. Just put your question in the comments or in the chat below the YouTube video. You can also just email me directly at raisingourresilience@gmail.com. It's raisingourresilience@gmail.com. Also, as a member of a group, you can always just drop a sticker, drop a post, say, my kid is doing this weird thing, I don't know what to do. Just put it in there and I'll help you out, okay? That's what this is for. This space is for you. The support is for you. So lean in, learn on, and we'll see you next time. All right, lots of love to you. You got this. All right, bye for now.